Hey, everybody, welcome to the VAU Mic Check. Tonight, we are doing a romantic script. Okay, romantic if you're romantic about food. And so it's rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. And let's see how everyone interprets this thing. You know, whether we turn kind of salesy or not, which I doubt that we will because of the type of copy it is. But we know how we are. So... with that, let's see. Golda's going first.
Okay. All right. Jessica opened her box of rosemary olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Let's see, who's next? Joe.
Unmute. Okay. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Michael?
Okay. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Let's see. I want to hear Frank do this one.
Alrighty. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing from her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Nathan.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Dan?
Okay. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. All right, Sherry, you're left.
Thank you. Okay. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Ooh.
That is a fun copy.
It is. So is Rosemary Popeye's sister-in-law then? And I never really knew Olive Oil's last name. I didn't realize Olive Oil's last name was Triscuits.
Popeye!
No, I think Triscuit Rosemary is Olive Oil's sister-in-law. Her brother's husband, wife, or something.
A Trisket, a Trasket, Tasket? A green and yellow basket?
Mhm.
No, it is a fun script to read.
Yeah, so the way it's written like a bodice ripper paperback novel.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it has to go that far over the top. You
In a
know,
way.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
know.
The way Sherry read it, it did.
Yeah.
I think we ought to try a character read next. I'd like to try it as
Okay.
Antonio Banderas.
Oh, that would be very, very muy caliente.
All right, Michael, give us the notes. You know you want to nitpick everybody.
Michael's
Go
got
for it.
something in his mind. Nope.
I really liked Michael's read. Sometimes when I was thinking, oh, he'll sound great with this because he likes to lean in
Yeah.
and get kind of breathy, and it just worked very, very well. And I personally think that the hitting it hard is part of the fun and the satire of the piece.
That's the intent. I mean, that's what makes it funny and draws you in more, at least in my.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you do want my notes on this,
Mhm.
I
We
think that's-
thought we did, but no. I'm
Yeah,
just, go ahead, Michael.
Forget it. You can leave now if you want. We're all on
All
here.
right,
We
guys,
got
hey,
the
thank you
coffee.
very much. I'll see you all next week.
Okay, goodbye.
I think there are actually two ways you could do this. I think you could really lean into that whole, Harlequin romance novel feel of it, where you just go as sexy as you possibly can and try to make it as steamy and romantic as possible. Or
Because
what
who
you
was
could
the
do-
dude who would do the butter or it's not butter?
Fabio.
Yes, Fabio.
That was Fabio,
Did you
yeah.
ever see those?
I can't
It's
believe.
not Fabio with
Box of rosemary und Olive. The aroma was.
But, Sherry, you did something real interesting in your read. You sort of brought yourself out of that a little bit when you said a combination sadly missing in her life. And I imagine sort of a comedy cut right there. So you could really lean into like the syrupy overdone romance beforehand and sort of have that little aside, a combination sadly missing in her life. That's sort of like an aside over to her husband.
Mhm.
Like sitting on the couch watching a baseball game, just like leaning back, totally bored with his, with the remote facing the TV, just clicking through channels, or I don't know, something really boring, really vanilla in her life, just cutting over to that, like the office job, like maybe she looks up and she's actually inside of her cubicle, and it's just like this most boring, gray and white colored office that everybody's sort of mulling around in. Nobody's really making any noise. You know what I mean?
Or Jessica could be like a 75 or 80-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
That
I could cut out to that.
She opens and cuts to the husband, and the husband's, sitting there.
Yeah, sitting there like.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think you could. I think there's embracing the sort of romance narrative of this whole thing and bringing it in close and bringing it down low, sort of what I did. Or you could do sort of what more Sherry did, which is add a little bit of comedy to it. I don't know if that was intentional, and I'm sorry if it wasn't. And I don't want this to sound any. I don't.
No,
want this-
because I thought that line is more of a commentary. It's
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
everything else is hot and steamy, and then she's like, and then it's like combination sadness.
Yeah. Well, again, it could be. You could even pull out the comedy with that sort of breathy and romantic close tone to it. Let's see. It'd be something like one bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life.
Mhm.
Sort of like the, sort of like you're still in the story. You're still trying to
Yeah.
tell the story, but it's outside of the story. If that makes any sense.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so I think there's two ways you could do it. You could really lean into the Harlequin romance novel, actually being the voice actor for the audiobook version of this Harlequin romance,
Mhm.
or you could do the sort of, aside to the real world, a combination sadly missing in her life. So those are my notes on it. I think you could go either way. I don't think this really lends itself to more to like a because that performance was it felt like a really close performance, where you keep it quiet, keep it low. I don't think it really lends itself to a mid-distance performance where you're at some volume, or a far away performance where you're really loud. I don't think either one of those two would really fit with this personally.
This isn't York Peppermint Patties? A cold breeze running through my hair.
I was on the beach without a tie.
But I don't know, Nathan, what did you want to do with this?
Well, and this is a good start with this. Now, last night when I read this the first time, just looking through it, I had actually dropped into Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits, and I just kind of played with a little bit. Like, I was thinking,
that performance. I want to hear that.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Oh.
You could go all
sounds like.
Oh my gosh! To me, you sound like a pimp.
You could go all Twilight.
Oh, that almost sounded like William Shatner trying to be sexy.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life.
Now, as you notice, I did not read that way when I decided to read it.
No, but that was definitely more leaning into the whole comedy aspect of it, just the completely misplaced announcer version of it.
Yeah, just like it's like, okay, I'm going to do it this way. And of course, got a good laugh out of my wife when I did that. So.
Aw. So are we going to go again, or what are we doing now?
Character read?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think really almost everybody who read it nailed it, because they all gave it a little bit different of a spin or whatever. There really isn't. I don't think any of the people who read it, need to be critiqued at all. I think everybody who read it nailed it perfectly in their own interpretation.
I think
I'm for a character read.
All right. Golda, I think you went first, right?
Oh, that's right.
So we're just picking a character, or okay.
Yeah,
do a character.
Character reading it, I guess.
Let's have some fun with it.
Oh,
Fun.
Yes.
Or let's suggest characters to
Okay,
people.
well, I was kind of going transatlantic here.
Transatlantic.
Sort of, I guess Katharine Hepburn-y, Other kind
That'd
there.
be fun.
Let's hear ya. Let's hear ya.
Okay. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
I got a suggestion for that character. Since
Okay.
you're going in that direction, can you add a shake to it?
I could add shake to it.
Just grab your throat like this.
Yeah, there's a little ring into it.
A little.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Eating Triscuits on Golden Pond.
Right. That sounded like, do you remember the character from Saturday Night Live, Pat?
It's Pat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica opened her books. Anyways, who is next?
I think it's me, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's you.
It's Joe.
I'm gonna go.
Go,
completely-
Antonio.
I'm gonna go completely off the rails here. I'm not gonna do Antonio either.
No,
Uh-oh.
I've been inspired.
this is about to get interesting.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Thank you, Billy.
Tasty Highland romance, eh?
It goes great with haggis.
Boundaries.
Goes great.
Candlelit haggis dinner on the moors.
That's right. Haggis and biscuits. It no gets any better than that, lads and lassies. When
The
you're
most
out,
romantic bagpipes you've ever heard.
when you're out Nessie watching. When you're out Nessie watching over the loch.
Michael?
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm next. What do I want to do with this one? I'm kind of thinking film noir. You know, like one of those
Go for it.
old school sort of
Like Casablanca?
this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
What was that?
Sort of film noir music.
Oh, should I do it to the music?
Well,
Can
that's what I was thinking.
Can you
Okay,
be
well,
more film noir? Because to me, that sounded pretty close to your first read.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and get the music going too?
All right.
We get a full production, why not? Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. The combination sadly missing. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Anyway.
Sadly, I lost your read in the music. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. I can't control the two different volumes, so it was a failed experiment. I apologize.
Got it.
Oh,
So I was
good.
turned up by the music. Let me try it again then, without the music.
Yes.
Okay,
without
my apologies. I'm sorry.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Mhm.
Yeah, no.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was distinctly different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coming around. It's very good.
Well, I tried.
You
I believe-
succeed.
Oh, grazie. Molto grazie.
man. You got it.
All right then. Who did I call on?
Frank.
I called on Frank. Well, Frank, it's all on you.
Okay, so like Jessica opened her box of like rosemary and olive oil Triscuits, eh? The aroma was like, wow, intriguing. One bite and she finally found that complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Yeah, Triscuits, rosemary and olive oil. Yeah, like a tasty romance awaits, eh?
This is now a global commercial.
It's a great white north. Pastor Triscuits theory.
That's the Triscuits there, eh? Goes great with your old Sudbury suitcase. While you're sitting on the couch listening to the coach on Saturday night.
Settle the boot.
Oh man, you remind me of this song that my brother played for me a long time ago. It was the Canadian 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And a beer, eh?
Yeah.
And a beer.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a beer.
Beer.
Goes through the whole thing. And a beer.
That's right. 5 golden rings of Kubasa.
Well, I thought it was 5 golden toques.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
I've heard different versions. It's Bob and Doug McKenzie
Yep.
from the Great White North.
Take off to the Great
Oh yeah, my favorite.
Anyways,
Remember that from high school.
All right, Nathan.
Nathan, you're
Right.
next.
Yeah, thanks.
Jessica opened a box of rosemary and olive Triscuits. Hey, Jessica opened a box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. Your aroma was intriguing. One bite, she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. As if I wasn't. Triscuits, rosemary and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Go.
I don't know about anybody else, but I got that whole guilt-tripping mother thing going from that. You really like
I got
to
a touch
tap
of
into that, don't you?
Why'd you eat the whole box of Triscuits?
I got a touch of
I
passion.
bought
in
this
there.
box of Triscuits for you. Please eat the whole thing. You're too skinny. You need to fatten up a little bit. You'll never get married if you look like that.
I had a
need to-
daddy go the other way, and
Yeah,
it's like,
it's my-
oh, sure,
yeah.
you eat the whole box. You couldn't save me just one. Like, that's all
Would
I'm
you
asking is
smell
just
that?
one.
Would you smell that rosemary in there?
And let me see if I can dip back down into my oh. Can we talk? Can we talk? Jessica opened a box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing from her life, as if I wasn't. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Oh, I hope he's good for her. Oh.
Nice. Nice. It's kind of difficult to give any feedback on characters because they're so unique.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, that's the thing with characters. It's there's always something very specific about how they do their thing, you know. And unless a director's like, okay, I want this character to sound this way, which, given the suggestion where Frank had mentioned how that sounded, and then Michael mentioned how that sounded, it's like, okay, I'm going to dip down in a little bit deeper and make this go that way. And I just took it as if it was direction. So,
nice.
Who is next?
I think I'm going to go full Cletus.
All right.
all right.
Perfect.
All right.
Let's hear it.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. Ooh, that aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found that complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing here in her life. Yeah, I know combination's a big word. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Them Triscuits go great with shine and chicken.
It's good
I
when
got my
cheese
bear.
whiz out the can.
I've got to eat my Triscuits with my beer.
Eat my Triscuits and get the cheese whiz out the can.
That's right.
No,
Dan.
try doing that. Try doing that. Same character and everything, but you're gossiping about it. You're not just talking about it. You're
Oh.
gossiping about it.
I can do that.
Ooh, honey child. Did y'all hear about Jessica? She opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. And, Lord, it was the aroma intriguing.
I didn't even have to. He did it for me.
There you go.
Did you hear? Hey, Golda, you got to hear this. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil and Triscuits. Oh, the aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found that complexity of flavor she craved. I think she fell in love with him or something. A combination sadly missing in her life. Yep, Michael's not taking care of her very well, Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
It always comes back to Mr. Monty.
Hey, it's really difficult to take care of somebody when I'm married to someone else. I mean, kind of hard. I'm sorry.
It's hard to talk about somebody named Jessica because that's my sister's name. So
That's it, first, Michael. Now take care of his sister.
Yeah.
Wait,
Dan.
is she your sister or your sister wife?
Oh, God.
oh no. She's my sister aunt.
Oh,
That's
that's
beautiful.
okay then.
That's right.
So, Dan, I would like to hear you go in a different direction and instead of full-on Cletus, be more of a fine Southern gentleman.
Fine Southern gentleman. Okay, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second here. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found that complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. I had to change a little bit to Georgia, but
Georgia, boy, Georgia. And whatever works.
all right, Sherry, it's your turn.
Okay, let's see.
You were just delaying the inevitable, weren't you? That's why
I
you
know,
asked for that.
no.
I want to hear Sherry do it in that sort of New York Latin voice that she knows how to do so well.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, you want kind of like tough New York.
Hey, man,
New
hey,
York.
man, you go to mess
Yeah.
with my Triscuits, I'm going to cut you. You know what I mean?
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuit. Ooh, Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. Combination sadly missing in her life. And I'm going Southern.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away from it, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, once it
Let's see.
starts-
Let's see. I have a dear friend, and she grew up in the Bronx, and she calls me Sherry. I'm sorry to bother you. So let's see. Except she doesn't do it that slowly. She's quick. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. And I'm going Southern again at the end. I don't know what that is.
It just
Triscuits,
sounds
rosemary, and
so
olive oil. Tasty romance awaits.
That's good.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. And then I was going to do it in an outrageous accent. It's what I was imagining in my little teeny brain. So let's see. Are you ready? You handsome Canadian, you Frank Stecky.
Yes.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Oh. I like that one.
Yeah.
That was
That
cool.
one would have booked.
I think go seek. Seeking, go ahead. I'm seeking for you. Are you heading for me?
Joe Thomas says, Pepe Le Pew.
We need more copy like this.
Yes.
Yes.
Just every now and then it's fun to have an evening where we're not really just basically letting off steam and having.
Just
Yes.
pushing the range. Yes, very good.
Yes. Well, that's what this copy is designed for, pushing the range.
Pushing the
Like I
limit.
said, my first read, I was just like going at it like this and trying to make it sound as salesy as possible.
I thought about going sportscaster for a second, and I was like,
Oh, that would be fun. Let's do that. Let's do a play-by-play.
I was just thinking of a sort of A maniac read.
Okay, Golda, do it.
Okay,
You're
I
up.
want to hear
Go
the
for it. I
maniac
wanna hear
read.
that.
Do it.
I want to hear what you mean.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
That's kind of like a little bit jokery.
I was kind of ruined. I think I was running towards the
Flashpoint Joker.
Okay.
Well, who wants to go sportscaster with me? Do play-by-play like a tag team.
Oh, I'll go.
You want to try that? Go ahead.
I'll go.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. You know, Sherry, opening boxes of Triscuits, 3 times out of 5, they say in the stats that you can actually cut your fingers, but we're not going to get in that. Swing ball low outside. Back over to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Frank. And you know what? The aroma was intriguing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sherry. Appreciate your input.
Smelled
One bite, one bite,
rosemary
that's all it
coming out of
was.
a box.
Yeah, one bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. You know what? A lot of people down in the minors, it takes more than one bite of the apple for them to get up here, but one bite is all she needed to find the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Rosemary and Sherry, back to you again. What's happening down there in the bullpen?
Well, you know what's happening here, Frank? It's Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
I can't wait to see the follow-up on that. Strike 3, he's out.
Fantastic.
You know, I could almost hear a Mafia Don read to this going as well.
A what?
Like a Mafia Don, you know, like a,
rosemary and olive oil Triscuits.
no. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
No kid, Buzz. Whatever you say.
We'll take care of it.
That's right. Oh, Nathan, you got to do your Russian voice for this. You've been
Jessica
working on Russian
opened
accent.
the box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. Combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
You got to get more guttural when you do it, though. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits.
There you go.
The aroma was intriguing.
Well, remember,
One
the
bite.
W's are pronounced like V's. The aroma was intriguing.
That's right. One
The aroma
bite,
was
she found the
intriguing.
complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
I got 007 villain from that.
Triscuit finger.
So nice of you to join
Yeah.
us.
They're gonna run out of Bond villains, and that's gonna be the next Bond villain right there.
Triscuit finger. All right.
Triscuit finger.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
What was that, NASCAR?
Yeah, it's good.
I had to do that from back here. Sorry.
I'm hearing Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
That's right.
How about a film noir tie-in? How about a little tie-in from film noir?
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Igor, how dare
What does
you
romance
read this
taste
script
like?
before you allow me to read it for you? How dare you? I am the
Romance is
master.
strangely a little salty and crunchy, I guess.
But you answer to me, Igor. How dare you read this before I have a chance to? Because, Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. I could smell it all the way in the crypt inside my coffin. It was wonderful. One bite. She finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, sort of like when I bit the queen. Blue blood, does that go better with meat or with fish? I don't know. It was a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
I almost expected you to go one bite.
That's right. One.
Lots of Triscuits.
Two. Who's got what?
Michael looks like he has something on his mind.
Well, I do. I'm just trying to find a way to sort of explain it. Because though I don't have a problem with these kinds of mic checks, don't get me wrong, I do like for people to go ahead and take something away from it.
Oh, yes.
And I think one of the things that's really sticking out to me here is a little concept that I learned way back when called the phonated airstream. And all that means is the area in your mouth around which sounds are shaped. Now, it's really difficult to describe. It's something that you just sort of have to try and pay attention to. But it really comes into play with a lot of these different accents and a lot of these different voices that we're playing with, is that they all shape sounds and words in various different ways. And we've all done that without really paying attention to what we're doing physically. We just sort of go into it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes even though it sort of pops into our heads that we want to go into a certain accent, it doesn't always happen because we don't know exactly where to shape those sounds around. Now, what I mean by that is, let's take the New York accent. If you really sort of pay attention to a New York accent, you realize a lot of the sounds come off like the front and side of the mouth. So, like if you try it and you pay attention, you realize there's a lot more movement up front here, off to one of the sides, left or right, whichever one, doesn't really matter. On top of that, as part of the accent is also the attitude that you go into it with. I mean, come on, a New Yorker, they're always on the go. They're always on the move. New York is an active city. It's an alive city. So these people are always talking. They're always, nothing stops them. And that's something that you can take away, is if you're asked to do an accent, it takes a lot more than just shaping the sounds. Kind of like when Frank started doing his Russian accent, one of the things that he missed was the W being pronounced more like a V. Yeah. And it's those little details that can make you sound a lot more convincing than somebody who's just trying to fake it on their own, who doesn't know the little bits and pieces, the details that make an accent an accent. Yeah. Now, I always put this caveat out there, and I'm going to do it now as well. Unless you can convince a native speaker that you're from there, don't try it. Unless that's the character. Unless the character is supposed to not quite sound right.
Yeah.
That's okay. But for the most part, if it's like a serious thing asking for a British accent, unless you either lived in London for a while and was able to pick it up, or know it very, 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 very well and can sort of slip in and out of it almost unconsciously, I'd say don't do it, because you never know when you're going to slip up. As an example of that, my wife showed me a video. It was a commercial once for, I forget what specifically, but there was a woman talking about how she spent all of her life ballet dancing. And my wife is a dancer. She's spent a lot of time dancing. She's very familiar with all styles. She mostly does ballroom dancing, but she's very familiar with all styles. And she was able to tell extremely quickly that this person who was on the commercial had never danced a day of ballet in her life. because of the way she held herself, because of the movements that she made. I mean, to most people, it wouldn't really matter. But to who this, oh yeah, that's right. It was for shoes. It was for dancing shoes, specifically ballet shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're going to market to, ballet shoes, that means you're going to market towards people who have danced ballet. And if you have a subject in your commercial who's never danced a day of ballet in her life, modeling these shoes, while dancing ballet, you're going to completely undo it. It's going to completely undercut everything you're trying to do, your credibility, the sales, all of it. It's going to completely undo it. So it's the same sort of idea here. When you go in for an accent, make sure you understand where the sounds are shaped. So like I said, for New York accent, you bring the sounds forward, you drop them off the side of your mouth more than you actually sort of, talk them forward. For like an Australian accent, it's more towards the back of the throat. If you pay attention, you do a lot more movement at the back of the mouth, and you'll really feel that when you actually try it. You'll feel a lot more the movement of the back of the tongue. The proper British comes off the very front of the mouth, like almost in front of the teeth. There's not a whole lot of mouth movement specifically for a proper British accent. Things like that. You pay attention to where the sounds are coming from. You pay attention to the little nuances that will make your performance believable. And practice.
Lots of practice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I did one the other day that was a voice match, and I do most of my auditions and records seated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it and I was going, okay, why aren't I used to do this all the time. Why aren't I gonna? So then I stood up and I walked around the room like him, and then I stayed standing. And this particular voice match, I needed to be standing for. It didn't work sitting, and that was just that one particular one. And on the ones where I get like a British accent request, things like that, sometimes they'll come in and they'll say native Brits only.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've done enough of them, you can ignore that. But if you haven't, then they're really, it's like the dancer example. They're really looking,
really going to
they're probably going to air it over there.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
They don't want somebody who, like the Viking River Cruise one, or Outback or the Outback restaurant one, where you can tell it's not a native speaker.
Yeah.
Viking River Cruises. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're nowhere near. I don't know where you're from, but it's not there.
Here's something that you can try. I know I've brought this up in the past, but I wanted to include this because we had a lot of fun with all the different voices and the different accents. Yes. Now there's a way we can pull those out more and more. Generally, there's something that you can say or do that really typifies that accent that you can do really, really well. For instance, when I was going through training, there was a guy who wanted to channel his inner Marvin the Martian. And if he tried just jumping into it, he couldn't quite do it. But if he said uranium-238 as Marvin the Martian, he could do very, very well. He was able to do it. Like the accent came naturally afterwards. Mm-hmm. So find a trigger word or a trigger accent or not accent. Trigger action. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Trigger phrase, trigger word, trigger action, something, whether it be standing up, walking around as the person, a specific word, a gesture, even a word in the language that you can really hit really well.
I actually agree with that because I do most Southern accents because I've lived all over the South. Mm-hmm. And there's certain triggers like words where I can switch from a North Carolina to a Tennessee to a Georgia to an Alabama to a Louisiana to a Texas to a West Texas.
Yeah. They're very different. Yeah.
So and there's always something specifically for you that you can pull out that'll drop you into that accent very, very, like almost fully. So it's important to find what that is and use that, especially when you're doing character work.
Yeah, it works great for characters. Yeah. Each one of my characters has some sort of phrase or tag that gets me into it.
Yeah, Nathan, do you have anything like that? Do you have any of the characters that you like doing that are sort
well,
of like
this one character I have that does a German accent, and I kind of started picking up on it by listening to Wolfgang Puck as often as possible, and with thanks to the channels like QVC and Home Shopping Network, he's on there constantly. So it's like I'll just tune in there, and I don't like watching these networks at all, but I do enjoy picking up the accent. And the first time I heard him on there, my wife had the TV on in the bedroom, and I'd been sleeping, and I heard his voice, and the first thing I thought of was Paul Frees. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm listening, and I just left my eyes closed, and I'm just like listening, and I'm just churning it. And then I decided I was going to try it. I wanted to try this thing because I'm thinking of Ludwig van Drake, you know? And then, you know, so it's like I get into Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. The combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
I think of Edna Mode. I was thinking Edna Mode at the start of that.
Yes, darling.
Own character based off of that dialect. You've probably seen him on Facebook because I just posted the other day. You know, he's talking about hitting the golf balls. It's very difficult in the snow.
Wolfgang's great. I caught him on some cooking show where he was the judge, and somebody had made risotto, and he moved his fork around on it, and he goes, "This is not risotto." And then he took her in the kitchen and showed her how to make it. And I'm like, I don't know if she's glad or embarrassed because
probably a little of both.
Watching him on a Home Shopping channel, they took the pan away from him that he was using. He's like, "You took my pan. What? You don't want me to finish?"
Wow.
He was just pissed. He was like, you know, the whole thing. It's like, okay, they're trying to sell this thing and they're using him to do it. They just screwed up royally because the whole thing emotionally went south. He was mad. The rest of it. It's one of those things. It's just like I pick it up and I just play with it and I just roll it around all day long. And hey, Philip just joined us. So guess what? It's his turn to play with this. he just got on. He just got on.
Phonemes?
What? He made it in for the second half.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna run, guys. So Philip can replace me.
Yay! Bye, Joe.
What?
Hi, Joe.
What?
Oh, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See
you,
Joe.
Yeah.
Bye, Joe.
One of the worst scripts you've ever seen.
Oh, great. I've got to be here for that.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
See ya.
All right, later.
There we go.
So if I could add to the dialect discussion.
Please.
Yes.
So I've been obviously studying him for a while. And
Yes.
one of the things, it really is, a lot of it is the mouth placement. There is a concept of, so when we speak, we use our mouth in a particular way. And part of getting the accent isn't just, oh, well, you know, they say the ah like this or the e like that, but it's the whole mouth position. So like, and
Tongue and
trying to put these all in words.
You see, that's the problem I had.
Yeah. So like one of the things that I remember is, like, as Americans, we move our mouth a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah.
We open them wide and things like that. But in a lot of other places, there's not as much. Our mouth, we're kind of chewy. And like I was working on the Dublin accent, and one of the techniques she said, well, grab like this so your mouth doesn't go so big for the Dublin accent. Let me say that. No, I put an England toenail. I think it's the shoe. And like my tendency was to show, like open the mouth really big and show, because it needs to be
Yeah.
moving it too much. Or like even the difference between British, they're always sort of somewhat closed-lipped because you have the stiff upper lip and or received pronunciation, to be more precise, and almost like a smile. So you're always trying to be different. You must be like everybody else.
Yeah.
You must be like everybody else. But I knew, I remember looking back at her, and I knew she was wrong about that. Absolutely wrong. And then Cockney is like this slack jaw thing. So I was walking down the street the other day, and this bloke came up to me, right? And he said, your wife's so keen ugly. She looks like a bulldog who piss off a stinging nail. And it's just, And then Australian, a lot of it's in the back of the mouth with the tongue. So you have to just psych yourself up to do it. Tell yourself you can do it because everybody else does it, so you can do it. Once I've done it once, I'll be right. And like once I've done it once, you don't move your mouth. It's all the tongue in the back. Once I've done it once.
Yeah. I did notice that through observation because we have an Australian client at this TV station. And I noticed and I like observe how people use their mouths. And I noticed with the Australian guys, they never hardly ever move their lower lip at all. That lower lip just stays static while their upper lip is just like going all over the place.
Yeah. or the French is in the front of the mouth.
You know,
let's see.
Here's something really interesting. And this is just something I noticed. If you actually say the name of the language with the accent of the language, you can really get a feeling of the actual like where the sounds are placed. Yeah. So American English is definitely like over the front to the middle of the tongue. With a fair amount of mouth movement, but British English is very much so towards the front. Yeah. In front of the teeth, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Eliza Jane talks about this a lot in a lot of her things, but the way she teaches it, and she calls them springboards, other people call them other triggers or whatever they call them, but by having a phrase that you know how to say in that, like I was using particular sentences because that's how the phrase I learned those accents with, because you kind of know where your mouth's supposed to be for that, it helps set your mouth into the position so that then you can go and read copy that isn't going to be, it's walking down the street the other day and stuff like that. And so that a part of it is getting your mouth into the position, and then part of it is noticing the particulars of it. Like German and Russian have a lot of commonalities, but where the L is different, whether it's in the front or the back. And so like there's the mouth position, and then there are certain things, whether part of it comes from, like their language doesn't have a certain sound, so it gets weird when it comes out in English. And with an accent of a native English speaker, there's a little bit more leeway, because if they happen to sound American, it means they've succeeded in learning how to speak more like an American. But if you're doing British or Irish or Scottish or South African or New Zealand or Australian, they're not going to slip up and sound American. So those are a little trickier to really master. So anyway,
but still, yeah.
I digress. But yes,
no, that's fine.
It's yeah.
Yeah, accents and characters come from various little idiosyncrasies in the language or in words. They come from the where you actually place the sounds in your mouth, and they come from the little nuances that are inherent to language.
Yeah.
Very true.
So
Very
anyway,
true.
Philip.
Yes.
Yes. Are you ready
to go? Sorry, Nathan, I beat you to the punch.
I was going to say, are you ready to open a box of rosemary olive oil Triscuits?
Unusual flavor. But they're delicious.
They actually really are. And doggone it, this isn't a mic check that makes you hungry.
All right.
We have been reading this in different flavors, different characters, different access. We started with just the baseline, atypical, how the style in which you would possibly read this. And, the clue words are romance awaits. So with that, it's your turn to give this a shot.
Oh boy. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
What's with the What did you feel?
No, he was going, like he could taste them.
It didn't, I guess something about it just didn't quite feel like, romantic or intriguing.
Okay.
So you can try leaning in and softening your voice.
And whispering. Get breathy.
It's very romantic when you do that.
Oh, really?
There you go. See?
Yeah, just like that.
All right. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits.
No.
No?
No, flatter.
Okay.
Not so up and down. Jessica opened her box of rosemary. Jessica opened her box of rosemary
and a little softer.
Yeah, a little more.
A little softer. If you have to move
now
in
we're all
closer
talking over each
to
other.
the microphone.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Okay, do it again and slow down.
Yeah, that was better. You're on the right track.
You're on the right track, but slow down again and get a little sexy.
All right.
A little seductive.
You're not doing the mic check. You are talking to a beautiful woman you adore.
You got it. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Oh.
Much, much better.
Yay!
Did that feel sexier?
It felt intimate.
Careful how you edit this one.
Yeah.
No!
Don't do like a highlight reel. I think I do think, Philip, that was great, except you kind of lose it at the end. Once you hit the last two sentences, Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil, you kind of pull back a little.
Oh.
So try getting up and close and quiet and intimate again. But start with Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. Start with the bottom and then go right back up to the top and run through it again.
Okay. All right.
But you want to hit those last two lines, and then I think you'll be able to hold it to the end.
Okay. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Mm-hmm.
That was tastier.
Yeah.
Remember, your finish line is not at the last sentence, it's past it.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you got to carry that delivery. You got to carry that performance all the way through.
All right.
Like, think about, so one of the things that I learned way, way, way back when doing stage acting is that your performance starts before you start speaking and ends long after you're done speaking.
Ah.
So think about newscasters, all right? Because when it cuts over, there's that delay, right? And they're sitting there and they're waiting, but they're waiting attentively. They're watching. They're, they look like they're involved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You see what you know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, it's a little awkward because they're not really doing much, but that performance has already begun for them. And let's make no mistake, newscasting is a performance.
Yeah.
There's a floor director down there going,
Yeah, exactly. There's somebody there coordinating the whole thing. So it is a performance. But channel that. The performance begins long before you start speaking and ends long after you're done. Because you never know where the camera's going to cut away, what's going to be happening, So that's the way that you need to approach it. That's why you keep dropping it at the very end, because as soon as you see that last sentence pop up, you're instantly checking out.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Do you see that? Do you see the psychology behind that? You need to move that finish line from the beginning of the last sentence to long after the period.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
First time you told me that, Michael, I actually wrote some extra dialogue for afterwards. And then just
That's it right there.
Whatever you need to do. If you need to write extra dialogue,
Sure.
if you actually need to physically draw a start and end line like in a race, whatever you need to do, you just need to make sure that your performance begins long before you start speaking and long after you're done. Otherwise, you drop off right at the very end, and then you have to retake the whole thing.
Yeah.
You got this. You got this. Come on,
All right.
You got this.
Yeah. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. And it keeps on going.
Exactly. But you did it. You did it. You carried that performance all the way through, and it sounded great.
I actually heard when you said awaits, I heard an implied awaits you. So you kind of you let it trail off like that, and it sounded great. I don't know if that's what was in your head, but that's the way it sounded when it came out.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone.
But did that feel different?
I mean, yeah, it did. I didn't just drop it on that last page. Just, keep carrying the feel, keep carrying the mood. Just.
Philip's going to be talking in his sleep tonight. His girlfriend's going to be going,
Oh, Jessica.
Well, it's just like
Wow.
if you've ever done archery before, it's actually a lot like that. My wife and I recently we were gifted on Groupon an hour's worth of archery lessons, and in archery, your shot doesn't end after you let go of the string. You have to follow through with the bow. You have to make sure you hold it steady on the target, and even after you let go of the string, you have to make sure that you stay there in that position until you know the bow is done firing.
Oh. Huh.
Because people will drop it at the last minute. They'll relax their whole body and completely throw everything off. It's much the same way. Your performance is, the bow and arrow. And if you follow through with the shot, you're going to land the bullseye. But unless you follow through with it from beginning through to the end and even beyond, you're not going to have it. Like if you watch professional archers, like during the Olympics or whatnot, you'll see that they hold the bow, though they let it drop, they still hold themselves in that position even after they have let go of the string, even for some time afterwards. It's a full follow through. And it's the same thing when delivering a script. You make sure that your delivery goes from, again, I've already said this a couple times before, but I want to drill it into everybody's head.
All right.
Yeah. Long before it begins and long after it's over.
All right. I gotta start thinking, getting into these things.
You did good. You did good. If you can channel what you did with that last read with all of your other reads, you'll have it. I mean, that last performance was great. You carried your performance the whole way through. It was convincing.
All right.
Now you're going to have to do that with a character.
All right.
We were just doing ridiculous characters, so it's
do a romantic SpongeBob SquarePants.
yes. Come to my pineapple. I will feed you Triscuits.
Oh, I guess this is the best I can do.
Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Do it again. Just do it a little softer. The same character. Just a little more breathy and get in a little bit closer.
Oh my.
Perfect. Do it.
Oh yes. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
Oh my gosh!
Well, how did that feel to you?
You feel square?
Well, honestly, I was just focused on the feeling. Oh my gosh.
So, Philip, you are your family origin is Korean, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any relatives that still have a very thick accent, and how would they do this?
Okay.
Relatives or family friends?
I mean, yeah. My dad kind of has a pretty thick accent. Even though he's lived here for 20 years.
Sure. My mom's Filipino, and other people tell me she has an accent. I don't detect it, but probably because I grew up with her. But she had friends that still sound like they just arrived yesterday.
Oh, gosh.
So thick. So I was just thinking that may be a pretty familiar leap for you to take. Maybe a pretty accessible accent for you to do.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
I do. I want to hear it. This will be awesome. You already hear it in your head, and it's hilarious. So you have to share with the rest of us.
Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite, and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved, a combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuits, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits. Yes.
See, that was really good.
It really was.
My God.
Oh my gosh! My gosh!
I'm guessing that felt kind of uncomfortable for you, didn't it?
A little.
That's perfect. That is exactly where you need to be.
Awesome. Just.
That's perfect. Now, if you could lean into it even more, if you could make it even more stereotypical in your mind, I think that would be absolutely perfect.
왜 이렇게 우리 하는 것을 할게. I just basically said, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
We're having fun is what we're doing.
Okay.
We're learning more in the process.
This is called pushing your range.
All right.
So it's just being loose and having a good time and using your imagination. That's all we're doing.
Okay. Trisket, rosemary, and olive oil. Jessica opened her box of rosemary and olive oil Triscuits. The aroma was intriguing. One bite and she finally found the complexity of flavor she craved. A combination sadly missing in her life. Triscuit, rosemary, and olive oil. A tasty romance awaits.
You know what? To me, you know what
was
that sounded
good.
like? It sounded like somebody telling like a bedtime story or an old fable or something like that.
That reminded me of one of those Miyazaki animes.
You know, I thought it was awesome.
You're like a wise man on the mountain. Let
Excellent.
me tell you about when Jessica opened her rosemary and olive oil.
That's when
Jessica
Jessica
opened
opened her box of
rosemary and
olive
olive
oil
oil Triscuits.
biscuits.
Oh, jeez.
That was really nice.
That was fun.
I mean, for one thing, Korean does not have certain sounds that we do in English. Like, you know, we do not have the
Sure.
F sound. It's always the P. Like, you know, it's not found, it's pound.
Well, that's perfect. You got to lean into that. You got to use that.
Yes.
I'm serious. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect.
Well,
So
that's
how would
just
you
like
say flavor with the super heavy accent?
Favor.
Pound.
Flavor.
Pound.
Flavor.
Flavor?
Favor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no
Flavor.
V sound either. Just B. Flavor.
The complexity of flavor.
See, that's almost like
Right.
Filipino too, isn't it, Sherry?
Yeah, we fix things.
Yeah.
You must fix it.
Yeah.
If it is
fix it,
broken, you must fix it.
you know, I get together with my plans.
You what?
My plans and me. We go out tonight.
Prince.
Yeah.
Wait. Your plans or your friends? Your friends?
Your plans.
Your friends.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I will say, Philip, specifically for you, I think this is a great. I think this is a great little exercise because one thing I do notice about a lot of your performances is that they do feel kind of reserved.
Yeah.
And well, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. You've not done badly whatsoever. We all want to get better, and I think you know us doing this to push you a little bit outside of that has pulled out a different kind of performance from you.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, the last couple of reads were really good. Like you really leaned into that, and that's a kind of performance I don't think we've ever heard from you on the mic check before.
No.
I agree.
You know,
I
and
totally
the one thing that like I mean I've mentioned before, and I think we all have at one time or another, Philip, is when you read, you enunciate very, like, you know, and if it says like one bite, it's not one bite, it's one bite, you know, and that. And when you were doing those reads, you started to get a little more sloppier, for lack of a better term, with your words and that. So what you weren't hitting those consonants as hard, and you weren't enunciating every single syllable so much and all that. It was you loosened up a lot more. It was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic set of reads that you got, and it's important that you do push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort range. It's okay to allow those little things to come out because that's your personal brand. Like that'll help you market yourself.
All
like
right.
I have, one of the weirdest things that I've ever been asked was, or that has ever been on a casting thing that I have ever been included on, was a Hispanic actor who did not sound Hispanic. I'm not even kidding you.
Because your name is Montez?
This was for a voice role. Okay, my agent asked me if he could send me this audition, which was for a Hispanic actor that didn't have a Hispanic accent. My last name is Montes. I'm first generation American. My family was born and raised in Argentina. We are Hispanic. Okay.
Ay, qué pedo.
But here's the thing, though. People will. I mean, casting will lean into that. There's a lot of places for a lot of the ethnic side of things to come out. And I'm not saying that fully defines you, but that is a part of what your read is. I mean, it's a part of who you are. And you can use that, and it's okay. The over-enunciation that does come, I could tell that comes from, even if you don't notice it, that does come from a little bit of nerves about your voice.
Yeah.
And that, while that was obvious, this sort of helped you get past that a little bit. At least I hope it sort of helped you see past it a little bit, because you can perform these really, really well. You just showed that you can.
Yay!
And you can lean into the fun, weird, different things and sound really, really good while doing it. You just showed that you can. So allow yourself to relax with it. You don't have to be so strict, so stringent. Voice acting is still acting, and acting comes from play, and play is what we need to do. And we just need to get really good at it.
Yeah.
And you did. You showed those parts of yourself with the last several reads. So keep it up, man.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's the end of my tirades for now.
Hey.
Well, being that was his final take, which was fantastic, and you could feel how relaxed that read was, because you became comfortable in your discomfort, and get used to being comfortable in your discomfort, because lots of stuff comes your way that's that way, You'll be looking at a piece of copy and your heart's pounding through your chest going, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? And it's like, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to relax my way through this. And one of those things that I've done in the past is I'll read it with an impression first.
Oh.
Wow, Jessica opened, and then just start off with the, my go-to impression. Or, I try to read it in an accent. It's a lot of fun that way. But, that's kind of pretty much what we've been focusing on all night tonight. And, hey, guys who are watching this on YouTube, we have a lot of fun like this all the time. And if you want to be a part of it, we are here every Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Loads of fun. Always.
And totally free.
Yes.
There is no cost to join us. We don't charge for this. We have a lot of fun. We help you build up your skills. We help you get some practice in. And it's all because we all love doing this.
Yes. And
wow, Frank, you're really good at miming.
I just watch a lot of Justin Bieber.
Wow.
So, come on down and join us. Because as you can see, we love to cut up. We love to have fun. And we learn a lot in the process. Because really that's how you get into this acting thing, by playing. We're kidding. I mean, when we leave here, we get paid to do that thing that we were told never to do when we were kids. And that's act like a kid. And some of us is literally, we get to act like a kid. Okay, Mom, I'm coming. Anyway, that's the end of this mic check. And we will see you guys next week. Oh, and at the end of the month, we have Cliff Zellman coming on.
Oh?
Yes, Cliff Zellman will be here. So you don't want to miss that either. So we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.